Our regular breakdowns at Eskom's coal-fired plants contribute to the country's daily power cuts, and President Cyril Ramaphosa says South Africa needs to fall a 4 to 6 gigawatt electricity production deficit, and nearly half the projects awarded under the relaunch of the country's renewable power purchase program has failed. And let's bring in now energy expert Ruse Moleshe to give us more perspective on this. Ruse, good afternoon. As always, thank you so much for joining us. The progress report that we're getting now is not looking very encouraging, because we are told that the independent power producers are likely to take away the problem of load shedding. But now we hear that progress has stalled. Up to almost 50% of the projects haven't taken off. Your perspective?
Good afternoon to you, Cindy, and the viewers. In terms of the renewable energy projects, I wouldn't necessarily say that the projects have failed, but I would say that the projects have faced different constraints, including access to the grid. And in terms of the total system, a South African system, the Eskom is the importance of Eskom in terms of contributing to the supply in the country is critical, and hence there is not one solution that will help us to overcome load shedding. You also alluded to the fact that there is a gap. That means that we need to have new capacity coming from various technologies and from various sources.
We've spoken to experts before, Jose, and the whole problem is that even with the renewable energy or independent power producers, they're not ready to necessarily supply the grid as we speak, because they would have to have the infrastructure, the engineers, the know-how and the buildings to now be able to add on electricity to the grid. It may even take up to about 2 to 3 years, some experts say, before the IPPs can truly kick into the grid. Is that the true picture?
That picture talks to availability of grid, and grid or transmission infrastructure is 100% owned by Eskom. So that availability would require an investment by Eskom to enable the projects to connect. So it's not totally correct to say that they are not ready, because that gives an impression that they fail to deliver the project. But it's a constraint that is systematic, where IPPs are not able, especially in particular areas where solar resources and wind are most advantageous. So that is the current challenge that relates to the renewable energy projects. And then you have the challenge with respect to Eskom, where the plants have not been performing in line with where they are supposed to be, and the board has come up with a turnaround plan. We are in the process of that turnaround plan. It's also going to take a little bit of time for that to unravel, as infrastructure is not a short-term intervention. So you need to have lead times to be able to address all the issues that you need to. But we've seen some improvement with respect to the system in Eskom, but there's still a lot of interventions that are required.
Yeah, is that improvement also referring to the Koeberg Unit 1 returning online, which in terms of its maintenance was planned a long time ago? Is this what could give a little bit of relief in the power supply?
The Minister of Electricity expressed some concern.
I'm not sure if you can hear me. I seem to have lost my comms. But if you can hear me,
I can hear you.
Yes. So give us a picture until I
yes.
get my comms back in terms of where we are. The Koeberg, especially the major power plants that we are so heavily reliant on, the improvement there, and what the picture looks like for the rest of the winter season and going forward.
So we have, the coal-fired power fleet, which are 80% of Eskom's supply, that are being managed to make sure that they continue to perform at a good level. And there are some inroads there. However, we're not there yet. With respect to those coal-fired power plants, we still have Kusile, which needs to bring back 3 units. We have Medupi unit that is also off. And then with respect to Koeberg, which is a nuclear facility in Cape Town, we have a long-term outage. This is planned. It's not a mistake. It's to make sure that this Kube power plant performs better and its life is extended over 20 years. There may be delays in returning Unit 1 of that. And Unit 2 is also scheduled for another long-term upgrade of the steam generators. So if that delay happens, it just means that we will have 2 units off, and that will impact the fact that we're expecting to have more power into the grid from Unit 1.
Yeah, but Ruse, the whole thing is that, I think consumers are just tired, especially when, you've paid your electricity bill, you've made alternative arrangements for energy supply, your inverters, even went over and above to invest in something that you shouldn't have because Eskom is failing us. So in this instance, where we are saying things are working and yet on a daily, we see how the load shedding stages vary. Starts at stage 1, we're now at stage 4, we're back at stage 6. It just doesn't encourage much confidence in this energy plan.
It will take time to resolve the challenges that Eskom have. I think most of the analysts, maybe people have not been listening, have been saying that for quite a while, that to have a reliable system, because we don't have reserve capacity, which we can call on when there are issues, and we have a shortage, it will take time to address the issues. It's not going to be tomorrow. The difference and the variation is just a question of supply-demand challenges at a particular time. So when you see some improvements, but then winter comes through and you have a huge demand that is a result of the weather, it will affect a system that is already not reliable, but slowly trying to get back to good performance. But that slowly is not going to be overnight, unfortunately.
And your view in terms of the change of leadership and also, I suppose you could even call it a cleanup operation and trying to get the Eskom affairs in order. Is this bearing fruit in your view?
Yes, when Eskom, before the new board was appointed, there were vacancies, about 7 vacancies within the Eskom board. And in terms, therefore, that does not bode well for stability. And also in terms of the different subcommittees within the board, you didn't have all of the skills that were required. So the turnaround with respect to that governance is encouraging because now you have all the focus. And on top of that, you have specific objectives they've put to us to say in 2 years, they need to increase the energy availability factor to 70%. And they are working towards that. It's not an easy process. There's still hiccups that happen. So, but it does bode well that we have a competent board, fully constituted, and that is putting out there the targets that they are working towards.
All right, Ruse, as always, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. This energy expert, Ruse Moleshe, saying things are really looking better. We just have to fast-bait, so say in Afrikaans, until such time the integrated or independent power producers will take time because they need to capacitate themselves, put in the infrastructure, and for Eskom to also avail the grid. That's where we'll leave it for now. And on to other